Thank you all. Now I request Professor Dr. G. Dhanasekaran sir, Director Academics, to deliver the welcome address.
Good afternoon all. First of all, I would like to thank each one of you for joining this online CME program, a webinar in medical education on assessment in CBME. I bid a warm welcome to our Dean, Professor Dr. Shanmugam, and our Vice Principal, Professor Dr. P. Usha, and others on behalf of the AMC Health. I welcome our renowned speaker, Professor Dr. M. Anbarasai, MD, from Chettinad Hospital and Research Institute, Chennai, who has taken her valuable time and joining us today to be a part of this event. Welcome, madam. I also welcome all the delegates who are registered for this medical education webinar. I would like to offer my regards to all the people who made this online function even even functional. In MBBS CBME curriculum, how to go about the process of evaluating whether the predetermined educational objectives have been achieved as recommended by the National Medical Council. How to go about with the process of gathering, interpreting, recording, and using information about students' responses to an educational task, especially after each lecture class, after a practical session, and periodical assessment. Without any further delay, I would like to start with the events. We will be delightful to have your questions and suggestions at the end of the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our Dean, Professor Dr. Shanmugam sir, to address the program.
Good afternoon to one and all, respected Vice Principal, respected Director, Academics, the Medical Education Unit in charge, Dr. Nirupa, and the other faculties in the Medical Education Unit, and the guest speaker today, Dr. Anbarasai, and I welcome you to our whole Medical Education Unit. On behalf of the chairman and the management, I thank you for accepting our invitation and coming and delivering a tough task for the assessment on the online assessment of CBME. So it itself is a very tough thing, but assessing in itself is a challenge for teachers. It is a very challenging one, but I think you are throw some light on how to assess online. That physical assessment itself is difficult in CBME, and then the online assessment is still tougher. So let us see how they are going to tell us. And I also like to listen to that, all these problems that we face the teachers. Teachers have a tough time than the students, the CBME. That's what I feel. The teachers are finding it very difficult, and they have to update their knowledge. And I think our units, medical education is a very good unit. They are doing a wonderful job. I really appreciate them for their wonderful work. And all these years, and the medical director also is doing very well. Academic director is doing a very good job. And coordinating is acting like a right hand for me. So do all the academic works and make my job very easier. Congratulate the Department of Medical Education Unit and the delegates who participate will definitely benefit by your lecture and the webinar. Congratulations once again. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our Vice Principal, Professor Dr. Usha ma'am, to say a few words.
Respected Dean, Academic Officer, and the MUU unit headed by Dr. Nirupa and all the team members. At this outset, I would like to thank Dr. Anbarasai for accepting our invitation to give a lecture on this webinar series on CBME assessment. Thank you, Dr. Anbarasai. And I would like to give a word of appreciation to our medical education unit, because I have seen them working together wholeheartedly, and all of them have put their effort 100%, and they have brought out this webinar. Hope this webinar will be a success and will throw light on various aspects of assessment. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Professor Dr. R. Nirupa, Medical Education Unit Coordinator, to introduce the guest speaker.
A very good afternoon to one and all. I am delighted to introduce our speaker, a young and dynamic physiologist and a renowned MEU resource person, Dr. M. Anbarasi. She is a professor in the Department of Physiology from Chettinad Hospital and Research Institute, Kelambaka. She completed her undergraduation in the year 2004 and an alumni of her Vinayaka Mission Kirbananda Warrior Medical College and Hospital, Salem. In fact, it is a very proud moment for many of our teachers here to see their student present today. She completed her post-graduation in the physiology from Madras Medical College, Chennai in the year 2009. She has been associated with Medical Education Unit and related programs for past 9 years. She has completed fellowship in medical education from CMC Vellore in the year 2015. Her ad hoc proposal was shortlisted for ICMR Extramural Research Program in 2017. She has been a regular resource person for research methodology workshops being held at SRM Medical College and Hospital, Trichy from 2017 till date. Her field of interest in medical education being curriculum designing and innovative methodologies in alignment in integrated teaching. As a physiologist, she has headed the department in a previous institute and conducted various undergraduate and postgraduate programs successfully, like PILS 2020 and PELOSA 18. She has undergone training in autonomic and vascular function lab in All India Institute of Medical Science, New Delhi. In physiology, a field of interest is heart rate variability analysis, auditory, visual, and somatosensory evoked potential, nerve conduction study, and polysomnography. She has got 19 publications for her credit and working on 4 projects presently. Now, one of her non-academic interests is doing Moodle Doodle art. This is one such by a speaker today. I think this will be a surprise to Anbarasi. This is done and many such works are there. I have just taken up from my FD account. Thank you. Now I invite Professor Dr. V. Trinyana Sambandam sir, MEU resource person, head of the department surgery, AMCH Salem, to chair the session. Thank you. It is over to you, Dr. Anbarasi. Happy learning to all of us. Thank you.
Respected Dean sir, ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Okay. Respected Dean sir, and all the renowned professors in front of me, I should say. Like I have no words to express my thanks for choosing me to be a speaker of the day. And I don't feel it as a new thing or remote thing. Like I am feeling like as if I'm presenting a seminar in front of my professors. So I could see so many familiar faces like TGS sir is there, Nirupa ma'am, Dhanshekar sir, Usha ma'am. And I'm very happy to be a part of this program actually. When Nirupa ma'am called me, I readily accepted for this because I just wanted to meet you all people in a more scientific way. Thank you Nirupa ma'am for calling me. And at the outset, I would like to congratulate the medical education unit of Annapurna Medical College because I know how Nirupa ma'am has worked not only for this program, almost 3-4 years, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Are we acquainted for more than 4 years, I think, right? In every training programs we attended together in the nodal centers, and every then and there for discussing about certain issues in the medical education aspects before every training programs that we conducted in our own departments in our respective colleges. We almost break our heads in coming to a conclusion for certain things. So that was nice actually. And Nirupa ma'am and other faculty in Annapurna Medical College, very limited faculty members for medical education, they have really done a wonderful job in all the training programs that have been advised by the MCA and now NMC. And of course, we have troubled our nodal center MEU coordinator Jayaprakash sir to the core. I think Nirupa ma'am will agree with this. And the Vinayaka Missions, I should say it is my alma mater. I know I still have many contacts with my professors and my colleagues who were then. And of course, Shanti ma'am from Vinayaka Missions College and Nirupa ma'am, they are in close contact with us. And of course, Deepthi ma'am is my teacher and my mentor also. So I'm very happy to be a part of this program in my college. I feel it is like my college. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity. shall I go into the topic, ma'am? Shall I share my slide?
Share the screen. Once we'll check it, whether your screen is.
Are my slides clear, ma'am? Is it visible clear?
Clear, it's clear.
Okay. So this will be a sort of discussion, or I should say I'm talking to medical educators. There is nothing new in this topic. Everybody are almost well versed with this assessment. It'll be just like an discussion over a cup of coffee, without a coffee, of course. So this assessment in CBME, why we need to assess, basically, why we should assess the students. See, always I used to say, like, to my students, I have taught Snoopy to whistle, but the other assessor or the other person or public in this instinct, they say, I can't hear him whistle. So what we used to say is, I said I had taught him, not that he had learned. So this is the scenario of most of our teaching sessions, even before CBME. And I should agree now that even with CBME, majority, this is what is happening. That is to be changed, actually. So what is assessment? It is the one which helps to distinguish between teaching and learning. What we have taught and what they have learned should align. So that for that, we need to have assessment. The problem is, we the teachers, usually we teach them, but we do not facilitate them. We neither address all the domains nor assess all the domains. So whatever is taught, whatever domain is taught, exactly that is not assessed. And we the teachers always try to cover the syllabus, but not try to uncover it so that the student can discover it. So these were the problems with the traditional way. But I think with the current CBME pattern, these problems will be decreasing to a little bit, because we are given certain guidelines how to teach and how to assess, how to intervene in the students' progress, everything by the center. So if we follow all those steps of CBME clearly, I think these problems will not exist. The subtopics which I'm going to cover today is what is the role of assessment, what are the types of assessment, and what our center says about assessment pattern, and little about online assessments. So for any program here is maybe MBBS, maybe or PDS, or like the whole program is called as a whole course is called a program, or it may be taken as a subject as such. So in whatever we take, any program, the stakeholders are the three. One is a trainee, the other one is the program itself, and then the third one will be the public. Okay. So for the trainee, what is the CBME doing? By giving enough number of formative assessments in which they are tested frequently and they are given feedback frequently, there will be a progress of his career or educational career towards the fulfillment or towards the completion. That is the main thing for the trainee. That is the main role of CBME assessment for a trainee. For a program itself, any program's objective is to give a certain outcome. Okay, so this CBME is basically an outcome-based program. Okay, so for a program, the assessment is the one which gives the information and judgment whether this program is able to give the particular outcome or not, whether we need to change the program in between, or whether we need to change the methodology of delivering the program, all those things. For assessing the program itself, the CBME assessment is very important. And for the public, any program or any healthcare program, the ultimate beneficiary is the public. So whether we will be able to appropriately deliver the healthcare by perfectly trained doctors. So all these are the stakeholders of any program, and to achieve these aim only, we need to have robust assessment patterns as designed by CBME. Now, these are the factors that we have to compare between the traditional and the CBME pattern. What was the endpoint of assessment in the traditional pattern? In the traditional pattern, the endpoint of assessment is whether the content or the content what was taught is learned or not. Okay, and whereas the competency-based assessment, the particular competency is achieved by the learner or not. That is the end point. The extent of performance in the traditional, it was like in reference to the peer group, that is in reference to the other students, how much this learner has achieved. That was the extent of performance. Whereas CBME clearly categorizes the performance into well performed, or maybe it has got different levels of competency as stated by Dreyfus model or other models. So that particular required competency, whether the learner has achieved or not, that is stated clearly by the CBME assessment. And who is responsible for the content delivery and the assessment? Here in the traditional method, it was a teacher. Whereas in the CBME method, it is both teacher as well as the learner. Both are responsible. And what domains it is tested? Traditional method tested almost 85 to 90%, it tested only knowledge component. Only 5 to 10%, 15% it was the other skills and attitude not at all tested. So in CBME, all the domains of learning will be tested equally. When the assessment was happening in traditional, of course, there were internal assessment and there were summative assessment. But what weightage was given more to the summative assessment in traditional methods, whereas in CBME pattern, more weightage is given to the formative assessments. That is, continuous assessment was happening in the CBME. And what was the reference in traditional method? It is called as norm reference. That is with respect to other students, how this particular student has performed. In relative perform, it assesses only the relative performance of the students. Whereas in CBME pattern, it is called as criterion reference. It is whether the particular student, each and every student has attained a particular competency at a desirable level or not. That was the difference between the traditional and competency-based assessment. Slowly, we are moving towards the CBME assessment. And I hope in another 5 to 6 years, definitely this CBME teaching learning methodology as well as assessment will be a full-blown thing. There are certain features, key features for the assessment in CBME. The assessment needs to be robust, more continuous and frequent. That means CBME gives more weightage to formative assessment patterns rather than the summative assessment pattern. It emphasizes more formative waves. And it should be continuous. It is not like once in 3 months, once in a month like that. It should be continuous. Even every session, end of the session, you have to ask some questions or make some feedback like that. Okay. So an effective CBME system must continuously link robust assessment with equally robust feedback on a continuous basis. So formative assessment with appropriate feedback is the key feature for the success of any assessment method in CBME. The assessment must be criterion based using a developmental perspective, like norm based as it was doing relative performance. That is comparison between the relative performances given off. Okay. So in CBME, it is only the criterion reference. That is, we need to set up certain benchmarks or milestones for attainment of a particular skill or particular competency. Okay, so that blueprint has to be made very pakka even before the assessment was planned at all. Okay, so this milestones are the benchmarks whether the student has attained that milestone or not. That way we have to assess. That is the most important point. Like how we assess a child's growth, like motor milestones, psychomotor milestones, and language milestones like that. For a student also, we have to assess whether he has developed a particular milestone according to the Dreyfus model, or many other models have been given. So this milestone or entrustable professional activity, a group of milestones can be called together as entrustable professional activity. So that attainment by the student is the key feature in the CBME. And also CBME more emphasis about the workplace-based assessment. That is, previously in traditional method, we used to assess in a simulated environment, like in a we don't assess the student in a ICU or in in a critical care unit or something. In the workplace, we don't assess. We used to have on traditional in vitro setup, that is a simulated setup. Okay, so whereas CBME requires a robust workplace-based assessment. That means they use the microsystems for assessing. That is the venue for assessing the students. So these microsystems are nothing but predominant clinical units where they work and learn, especially. For example, hospital wards, surgical suites, intensive care units. In all these areas are called as microsystems, and CBME has got multiple assessment tools to be employed here in these microsystems. The challenge here is the faculty must be accurate observers and best assessors of performance. That is, faculty may not be present all the time in all these places. That time, what are all the different methods of assessment that we have to use? We have to plan it ahead. The other feature is the training programs must use assessment tools that that meet the minimum standards of quality. That means that choice of the assessment method is very important. Again, we need to have multiple agents. Here, assessment tool is the faculty himself. A trained faculty in all the assessment methods is the assessment tool actually. And the assessment methods may vary, like exams or clinical evaluation exercise, multi-source feedback, that vary. But what CBME suggests is we should use multiple agent and multiple methods. Agents here are the faculty, peers, patients, even nurses, even patient attenders. All these are assessors or agents. Multiple assessment methods include the tools like multi-source feedback, simulation scores, and workplace-based assessment like mini clinical evaluation exercise, all those things. Other feature is you should also try to incorporate more qualitative approaches to assessment. Like before, we didn't give much importance to logbook or portfolio or reflective writing, all those things. Now we have to give emphasis on this qualitative approaches also, because patient, what they learn should come from their own words. They should reflect what they have learned. So in the process of reflection, we could assess whether he has done or not, whether what he has done is up to the acquired level or not. Okay, everything we can assess, and that sort of assessment is called as a qualitative approach of assessment. Best example is the portfolio. So in short, the role of assessment in CBME should be to assess the student at an earlier stage. Okay, whether he is having a deficiency or he is going for an advance. More frequently, if we do the formative assessment and if we give feedback in a sufficiently manner, if we identify if he has some deficiency, if we can identify it earlier, then we can plan for some remedial plans. Okay, if the student if he is a slow learner, we can do some remedial methods and we can make him improvise. If he is not able to correct, or if he is not able to catch up, then it is the point which tells you that which is the fair exit from the training. He can exit, he can exit from medical education. So that we can say it very early. So that's why the importance of continuous assessment is falling. At the other hand, for a student who is performing extremely well, he needs again, with the feedbacks and with more formative assessments, we can identify him earlier that he is far better or far ahead of other students, and they can go for a more rapid advancement. So such a customized training can be possible in CBME. Of course, in our pattern, in our setup, we just introduced CBME now in our country. We still follow the time frame, like within 5.5 years or 5 years, we have to complete this. Within 12 months or 13 months, we have to complete first year, like that. But this customized training is adopted in Western countries with CBME. Soon it will evolve in our country also. One thing we should remember is expertise and not competence is the ultimate goal. Though our aim is to produce competencies, competent doctor, but in real life situation, when he goes to the outside world, he should be an expert in doing any particular skill. That is our ultimate aim. Coming to the types of assessment, we have formative assessment and we have summative assessment. This we are all familiar. So when the cook tastes the soup, it's formative. When the guest tastes the soup, it is summative. This also we all know that. So another component is called as the internal assessment, which is actually fitting with both formative as well as the summative assessment. Many times internal assessment is actually a formative assessment, because internal assessment usually we keep in maybe every 2 months or every 3 months, like that we used to keep internal assessment, and after the completion of one particular system or one particular part of the of our entire syllabus, we used to keep internal assessment. Again, what we are doing with internal assessment, if we are doing internal assessment, we give the marks and we discuss the feedback with the students and we make them improvise in the next assessment. So automatically it goes as a formative assessment only. So both internal assessment is actually falling in both formative and summative assessment. I would prefer it being considered as a formative assessment too. Only thing is the frequency is actually not that frequent as formative assessment, and also we consider this to some extent for the summative assessment, that is at least for appearing for the exams, that is eligibility, your internal assessment has got its weightage. So in that way, it can be considered as a summative assessment part also. So according to the Miller's pyramid, we can classify the assessment tools. We know the basic levels of pyramids are the knows how, shows how, and does. In between knows how and shows how, there will be a separate entity called as shows, okay, that I have integrated. So these are the types of assessment tools that is used at each level. Say, for example, for knows level, which is actually according to the Bloom's taxonomy, the knows and knows how levels corresponds to the stages of comprehension application. Okay, so for testing this knows level, we can use essays, short answer questions, MCQs, or even we can ask Viva, oral Viva. And for knows how context, we can use essays again, short answer questions, MCQs, case witness, problem-based assessment, all those things. More applied it will be. And for shows how level, we need to assess their performance in vitro settings like OSCE, OSCE, simulated environment, standardized patients, and all these will evaluate the shows how level. And DUS is what is a workplace-based assessment, that is performance assessment in vivo, that is in actual workplace, how the student is performing. This can be assessed by using these exercises like DOPS, direct observation of procedural skills, multi-source feedback, mini clinical evaluation exercise, all these things. So knows and knows how will assess the cognitive part, whereas shows how and does will assess the performance and attitudinal part. So let us have a glimpse on what our nation and the NMC has told, that is from the GEMER 2019. What it has suggested is the CBME assessment should help the learners to acquire and develop competencies. Yes, it is actually the formative assessment is the assessment for learning, and the summative assessment is the assessment of learning, they used to say. And mostly for the skills, especially, we need to have direct observation. That is very important than having an essay or something like that. And all competencies have to be assessed. This is the guidelines given by GEMR. And we need to prepare a pakka blueprint before designing or making an assessment tool, even for internal assessment as well as the summative assessment, and for formative assessment also for that matter. So these are the different assessment types, opportunities as suggested by the GMER. It may be informal or it may be formal. Formal has got two categories, internal assessment and summative or university assessment. Informal assessments are nothing but the formative assessments. They are used mainly to give feedback to the learner, and this in turn will give feedback upon our teaching process also. So formative assessment will allow the students to open up and know their progress, and students themselves can make a trajectory of performance and they can assess. This way it causes self-directed learning and assessment. This will enable that also, about their own progress. And of course, formative assessment, if the students are more prone to, they are more subjected to formative assessments, that will take away the stress of assessment also. Next, about the formal opportunities, that is internal assessment and university examination, we need to have both. Internal assessment is also there, and university examination is the final gate pass. And one is not the replacement of other. as suggested by our NMC. So we need internal assessment. We need to have regular periodic examinations. NMC has suggested a minimum requirement, at least 3 in pre and paraclinical department, and at least 2 in a clinical subject in that professional year. Okay, and every clinical assessment posting should have an end of posting clinical assessment for each professional year. For example, if they are doing medicine in 2nd year, 3rd year, and final year, at the end of each clinical posting, they should be attending one assessment. Okay, and that's what I was saying for medicine. Logbooks are given more weightage in internal assessment. Like logbook is just a document of what they have learned. Okay, it's just a record of what they have learned. If the same logbook is including a reflective part also, then it becomes a portfolio. If it is continuous for the entire 5.5 years, it becomes a showcase of a student actually. So logbooks are given equal importance, and internal assessment should be based on all the competencies and skills. Important thing is the results should be displayed within 2 weeks of assessment, and appropriate feedback should have been given to the student, and the remedial measures should also have been elicited to the students within 2-3 weeks. And internal assessment should be made mandatory for appearance of the final university examination. Students cannot skip from internal assessment and they can just merely apply for the final exam. That is not there. Previously, it was 35% eligibility of internal assessment. It was 35%, but now it is at least 50% of the total marks combined in theory and practical should be the minimum to be eligible for appearing for the university examination. And internal assessment will reflect as a separate head in their mark sheet also. Okay, next is the university examination. It's up to the university, which is regulating the particular college, particular institute. Each university has got a different pattern, but in general, the university examination has to be conducted in order to acquire the necessary, identify the candidate whether he has acquired the necessary knowledge, skill, ADCOM values, and all those things, clear concepts of fundamentals, and whatever competencies that is enlisted in the NMC, that whether they have done or not, they have to check. They have to frame the questions according to all those things. And again, the NMC has advised us to use multiple tools like long answers, short answers, multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions should not be more than 20%. And again, the pass criteria is minimum 40% in 2 papers. If the subject is having 2 papers, minimum 40% should be obtained in each paper, but combined pass of 50% is required to pass. Again, practical examination, again, skill assessment, data interpretation, logical conclusion should be there. Even if you are not able to find the clinical cases, you can use the simulated environments or standardized patients in the lower levels, that is in the 1st year and the 2nd year. But as you go to the final year, it is very much essential to provide clinical cases, and that too, it should match with the actual practice. You could not use any syndromic involvement for a student for assessment part. Okay, should have a common disease and avoid rare cases and syndromes. And focus on data gathering, physical examination, writing records, and manage plans. All these are general. Viva, again, the approach to the patient management, their approach to the emergencies. What about the ADCOM principles? Whether communication skills is good, whether the attitude and other ethical aspects, all those are met by the students. Everything has to be assessed in Viva course. And skills in interpretation of common investigation data like X-rays, ECG, all these are okay, self-understood. And one more reform here is Viva marks usually it was added to theory before, okay? But here Viva marks are added to practicals in CBME. Okay, if the student is failed in one university examination, there has to be supplementary examination within 90 days of the main exam. Okay, and if they get pass, they can continue with the same batch. If not, they have to appear after 1 year only. This was the examination schedule pattern given previously before Corona days, and they changed into this from 2021 to 2024. Everything has been changed, and foundation course was reduced. Examination dates have been preponed. All the duration has been decreased. But I don't know whether even if this will be permanent or even this could change. Whatever is the change, this is not 35%; it is 50% now. This is the pattern of pattern recommended by NMC. So far we have discussed about what was given in the GMER before COVID days. Now, after this COVID days, what happened is that scenario totally changed. The teaching learning methods changed. We could not see the students. We could not see what the students are doing when we take class. So it was more problematic, as Dean Sir said. It was more worrisome, and it was more problematic to the teachers rather than the students. So our problem is we have to train the next generation of digital learners. And with the corona epidemic, everything was put in stay, actually. There is not much difference between the online teaching assessment as well as indirect, excepting is the similarity here is that we are going to test the same educational cycle, same learning process, and interaction, whatever integration, assessment of feedback, assessment and feedback, everything, the principles are the same. But only thing the difference is we need to use the technology now. We cannot have the student in front of us, and we cannot have a stick with us and ask why you are not studying, why you have not answered. We cannot do that. So we need to use the technology. There is a spatial distance between the student and the teacher that is more worrisome, actually. And learner also feels that mostly if you take the feedback from the student, they would say that physical presence of the teacher is very much wanted by the students for their effective learning. Whatever the pace of their learnings, whether slow learners or rapid achievers, they need a physical presence of the teacher. All these are actually the problem for this online learning thing. So for online assessment, by definition, any use of electronic or digital devices to construct or deliver assessment task is called as online assessment. Apart from this construction or delivery of the assessment task, can also be used to monitor the progress of learners. It can also be used to mark or grade the assessment and for record keeping also. The ultimate goal of CBME is to provide an outcome-based performance by the students, and that is implemented by means of keeping frequent formative assessment, frequent assessments, and integrated with feedback. The same has to be incorporated in online assessment also. We need to keep frequent online assessments, and we need to give then and there feedback to the students. We need to keep a track of the students' progress. So the role of online assessment is, there are three types actually, three main types. One is assessment before teaching, like the same thing we follow in our routine classes. So whatever the baseline knowledge that the students have, we used to take us, and we used to ask the questions whether they have been experienced with something or not. Okay, so the same way to just to initiate a lesson or introduce the topic, we can ask questions to the students. Either we can ask the students to unmute and answer themselves, which they won't do at any time. Instead, we can use this poll option or chat box discussion option. Ask them what was the baseline knowledge on the particular topic. So that is the assessment before teaching. Assessment during teaching is what the formative assessment. So at the end of class or during the class, we can intervene and we can ask the students to answer certain concepts or whatever. Even if we ask them to repeat what we have told, they will not say. Okay, so that is the scenario in a real life. But we can assess the students in this way by asking formative assessment. It will help the students to assess themselves, and also it will help the teacher to make any mid-course corrections in their content. Okay, and for this we can use simple classroom assessment techniques. Assessment after teaching is nothing but at a unit we used to keep MCQ assessment in a Google form or a quiz sort of thing. Okay, so that at the end of completion of one unit or maybe one system like that, we can have an assessment. This can also be an internal assessment, or it can be a summative assessment as a whole when the entire course is also completed. And one more thing is the assessment as learning. Now, this is actually, we will make them undergo an authentic experience. That is, for example, we can make them to go for a community visit and write down certain things. Like in this COVID situation, we cannot make them do that also. Usually once in telling my experience with this, during our winter vacation, we asked the students to gather the symptoms of related to gastrointestinal system. It may be any symptom. It may be dyspepsia, it may be pain abdomen, it may be vomiting, it may be diarrhea, whatever it is. We asked the first year students to ask the symptoms related to gastrointestinal system among the public. That means they are going for a vacation. So we asked them to just gather the symptoms related to GIT with among the relatives. Okay, so we made them to write a report on that and reflect on that. So that was one assessment as learning. So by doing that project, they would have got an idea what are the different varieties of symptoms that is there in the related to GIT, and some of the students had even gone back and referred what is dyspepsia, what are the causes for dyspepsia. So those readings were there, and they actually wrote a reflective writing. And when they came back from vacation, they gave this. This is one assessment as learning. Here we can, in this COVID situation, of course, we can give some projects like surfing in the internet, giving some complex scenarios, make them write an explanation of what this thing, or search for the YouTube video, search for the literature and gather some points. Like that, we can give some projects, and from the report what they have they're producing, we can assess whether they have read that, truly done that project, they were benefited out of that project. Everything we can assess, and this will promote the self-directed learning of the students. So these are the different online assessment tools that we can use in our day-to-day life classes. Okay, we can use polls, every meeting apps like Google Meet and Microsoft Teams, Zoom, everything has got this poll option. We can ask for muddiest points. Muddiest points is nothing but we can ask the student to write one sentence which was the most complex or confusing point in the class. Okay, so it is actually a double-edged sword, because they say like entire class was confusing, then that's all. We have to change our entire delivery pattern. Okay, so this muddiest point, contrary to muddiest point, is crystal clear point. We can ask them to write in one sentence. 1 minute paper. 1 minute paper is a very useful technique actually. Ask the student to write what was the objective that was learned today. At least what was the topic or objective that was mainly pointed today. So that is one assessment. MCQs, one MCQ at the end of each lecture can be given. Okay, and to make it complex, we can use concept maps. Like ask the students to prepare a concept map of what of the topic what was dealt today, and submit it in the forum, the classroom platform or something, student learning platform, LMS, whatever it is. For making this concept map, before asking the student to do, we should better ask ourselves, we should make the concept map for our topic. Whether this particular topic can be made into a concept map or not, that we have to evaluate first, and then you assign this particular task to the students. Of course, there are breakout room discussion options present in almost all the meeting apps, and we can even give OSCE. We can assess OSCE in breakout rooms. Like in each breakout rooms, one facilitator or one teacher will be sitting in each breakout rooms. So the student has to travel from one breakout room to other breakout room. When he goes to one room, he will be asked a question. he'll be shown a video and asked to interpret from that, or he will be shown a picture, for example, a differential leukocyte smear picture. He'll be asked to identify a cell. Okay, so these are the options that we can do, we can assess online. Okay, and we can ask them to, we can make the testing application of the concepts. We can give a real scenario and we can ask the student to interpret and evaluate how they got that interpretation, what are they going to do that. And of course, there are e-logbooks and e-portfolios available. They can fill it up and submit over the platform, learning platforms. Reflective writing is there. Virtual OSCE can be done. OSV, that is subjective structured video examination. Here, this OSV is nothing but we can, we can show the video of a clinical examination, ask the subject, ask the student to observe the video, and they have to comment on the video. Of course, this video have to be made with a standardized patient or the faculty themselves. And what we have to do is, we have to make some errors. Wantedly, we have to make some errors, and we have to assess whether the students are picking out that errors. Okay, so in all the domains we can assess. We can assess this in cognitive, skill domain, as well as affective domain. All these domains can be assessed by this OSCE. Because we can give projects, and electronic patient management problems are there, which is very costly. Of course, we can make cells also. So these are the different online assessment tools. And this classroom assessment techniques, there are many apps available. Even free apps are available that we can use in our day-to-day life. Every kid is techno-savvy. Only we have to undergo training for all these things. But the students will be easily able to use all these things. Okay, so in this very user-friendly is this Google Classroom question tool. There is an option there in the Google Classroom platform. We can make use of that. Of course, we can give Google Forms. At the end of the session, we can give a Google Form link to the students, ask them to answer the questions in that Google Form. Edpuzzle is there. Kahoot. This is a very friendly software. And recently, in one medical college, they conducted a UG quiz using this software, that is Kahoot. Quizlet is there. Mentimeter. Mentimeter is a very funny, actually, a very useful app for a classroom assessment technique. So I just had an example of this Mentimeter. We can have an interaction like this in between the class. I think you can also attend this. Go to www.menti.com and you will be asked a code. You can fill this code and answer the question. Can you all please try it now? If you have a mobile phone with you with internet connection, I think you can try it. Menti.com. The code is 74197160. Have you filled it? Let me check it. You can show the students. Yes. See, this was the question that is asked. What is the accurate method for estimation of hemoglobin? 9 students have, of course, you're not students, 9 colleagues have given 10, sorry, now 10 has opted for Sally's method and 16 have opted for Steinmetz method. I think these two, those who have opted for Steinmetz must be physiologist and pathologist. I think so. Okay, because the correct answer is Steinman. So this feedback you can show the students. You can on the go when you're presenting the PowerPoint slides in between, you can have tasks like this, and you can show the students like this is how this many students have given the correct answer, and this many students have given the wrong answers. So the students will be knowing by themselves what they opted for. So whoever has done the wrong answer, they would get a chance to correct themselves. This is then and there feedback. Okay, so this is one option of using Mentimeter. Of course, in Mentimeter, the one drawback is as a faculty, as an instructor, you will not be. Wait, ma'am, is my PowerPoint shown? No. Nirupa, ma'am.
Slideshow.
Now is it visible, right? Okay. So this is one example of interaction that can be actually useful for the students, and it will be interesting for the students also to go whenever, if you are asked the students to go away from your PowerPoint slides, they will be excited. It is always true. Okay. So if you ask them to do such activities, it will be useful for them. One disadvantage is you may not be knowing which student has got wrong answer and who has got correct answer. That you will not be knowing. Okay. So, but of course, this can be such type of interactions can be used to assess your teaching in general as well as the progress of the students. So this many percentage of the students have understood the topic. Other students have not understood. So I should make some more emphasis on the particular concept. Like that, we can assess ourselves also. Okay, and while framing the online questions as well as even for other CBME pattern, we should actually follow few rules. Always try to ask higher order questions. Like especially with online questions, if you just give questions related to rote memory, like for example, how many nephrons are there in the kidney? This just number, everyone can remember this. Or else the students will easily discuss among themselves and just click on the MCQ options within seconds and they will submit. Okay, that should not be there in online assessment. Even if you make a Google form or Google quiz, ask higher order questions so that they should think and answer. Okay, so if you put a question in a very complex form and give some complex answers, then they will not be able to copy each other or discuss without even reading the question. They will not do it. Okay, so ask for higher order questions always and integrate the questions with different subjects, like how we integrate with physiology, pathology, anatomy, we integrate medicine. So like that, if you have to integrate questions in a different subjects, and also you give a real life experience, you give a case vignette, you give a scenario, and then ask the concepts from that. Okay, so like this, we have to ask questions, especially in online assessment. This we can follow in offline also, but this has to be followed in online assessments for a better performance. Of course, the points of concern is plagiarism. We cannot do anything about it. Simply, if you give an assignment, they used to cut, copy, paste. Even for your assessment, if you ask the student to write an essay, we are seeing the same sentence with the same grammatical mistake being done by every other student. Okay, so that is the status. We cannot avail with this plagiarism unless the student themselves understand the importance of this rationale behind this assessment. So they should have themselves a rationale, like this is an assessment and this is a life science, that we should do it sincerely. Without that, we cannot do anything. That is the only thing. And every university, every institution should have a very good, robust plagiarism checker. And whether it is practical in each and every assessment that we keep is still a question, that we have to accept that plagiarism risk is there in online assessment. Of course, students are all techno-savvy, but faculty, we have to get trained for all these online things, and support from the institution is a very important thing. They should provide us with all the tools, online assessment tools. If some softwares are costly, and they should buy it, and other infrastructures, your network, everything should be there. And these are the points of concerns in having this online assessment pattern. So summarizing, key points of assessment in CBME is it should be continuous, robust, and it should be throughout the program. Majority of the assessment should be conducted at the workplace in order to identify whether the student is completely proficient in their attainment of competencies. And we should judiciously use the appropriate assessment technique, not like we have this software, that's why we are testing this. Whether it is needed for that particular competency, we have to check it and then use it. We have to use multiple methods and we have to employ multiple facilitators for assessment. That validity and reliability of the assessment tool is a very important thing that we have to keep in mind. And of course, we have to obey the regulatory bodies like NMC or our university's guidelines before conducting any assessment. Feedback is the key for any success of assessment process, as well as to assess the progress of the student. So a robust assessment methods with robust feedback is very, very important for this assessment in CBME. Thank you all. Any questions?
It's a wonderful enlightenment of the CBME. The most toughest job in CBME pattern of teaching is, it's not the teaching, it is the assessment. As you told, no?
Not audible, sir.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes. Fine.
Thank you, Anbarasi. That was a wonderful enlightenment session about the assessment of CBME. As everyone felt that it's not the taking class which is going to be tough. It is going to be the assessment part is the toughest part of the CBME curriculum. And we are also having some practical problems. But since we are in online, we are able to manage something, but we don't know how we are going to do once the students coming here, because we have a lot of queries. When we start executing the CBME curriculum and the pattern and the regulations which we are going to follow, we have a lot of doubts. It will come again in future, as you know that it has to be constantly, has to be improved, or it has to be learned with the other faculties. And we have two questions for you now. One is, at the end of every lecture, it is difficult to do the assessment. Can you please suggest me some methods to overcome it? I think already you have answered part of it.
Yes, sir. End of session assessment. One thing I told about is this one paper, 1 minute paper, chapter or 1 minute paper. That is actually very useful. We can even make a small slip with a common template. What was the objective that you have learned today? Or what was the most important point that you have learned today? That is 1 minute paper. Or you can ask what is important. Okay, that you can ask. That is 1 minute paper. You can ask one question quiz. You can post one quiz like this, Mentimeter like this for online. Even if it is offline, you can ask one question, post one question, and make the students to write the answer in the paper and give it back to you. You can have a small slip like a permission slip we used to have, no? Like that, you can print it and keep it ready. That you can assess. Make a note of this thing in your own papers, and then you can enter it in their logbooks when they come to get signature in their logbook for the particular competency. That is one technique is there. And we can ask the students to, one interesting thing was 4 corners test. Like in a classroom, we have got, it's a square or rectangle most probably. So we must be having 4 corners, 4 quarters. So in that we can ask the student to, those who have understood strong, very well, go to corner for box number 2. Those who have not understood anything, go to corner, box number 1. Like that, we can make the students stand up and do some exercise, walking exercise, so that they will not sleep in the next class also. But anything, we have to plan our lecture in such a way that last 10 minutes of the class, we should devote to some assessment technique. We should devote enough time for this assessment, and then only we can achieve this end of each lesson assessment. 1 minute paper is there. We can give MCQs. We can make them do the Google form assessment. later on. We can give the link and then we can ask them to submit it later on. That will be a permanent record also. Since the advantage of the Google form is evaluation of, or what to say, the getting the response and evaluating the response is very easy because it itself, the Google itself will evaluate the response and give it to you in an Excel sheet. There are many ways, sir, actually. There is one, actually, the handbook of, I think, CanMETS Classroom Management Handbook or something like that, tools, online assessment tools or something, it includes everything. Maybe Nirupa ma'am, I'll share it with you later on. Yeah, sure. There it is given beautifully, the structure of each and every assessment that you have to, you can do it in the classroom as well as other ways also, other assessment techniques also.
There are a lot of questions. I read a few. Is there any assessment for practical? Any specific tool to assess EdCom component of CBME?
Yes, sir. We can EdCom component on the, actually we can do this clinical evaluation exercise is there, and procedural skills is there, workplace based assessment, everything will assess the EdCom values also. Okay, so with how the patient is moving with the, I mean, how the student is moving with the patient, that we can observe, and we can assess them, grade them. I think NMC has given a beautiful document on this assessment. In that, EdCom testing format is also given in their logbook forms. Or we can ask the student, we can have a standardized patient behave in a particular way and ask the student to respond to that standardized patient. We can make the student to talk to the relatives in disclosing the problems or answer to the questions posed by the relatives for a particular problem. All these things can be done. All these comes under workplace-based assessment.
Can you repeat the name of the handbook for the classroom assessment? That is one
yeah, CanMETS assessment tools. I'm right.
Can you spell that?
CanMETS, Canada groups, CAN, okay. Capital MED, CanMETS assessment tools handbook. Okay. Shall I type it in the chat box? Maybe.
Yeah, please, better.
CanMETS assessment.
Somebody has sent a link from Royal College.
Handbook, yeah.
CanMETS tool guide.
Sorry, it's a spelling mistake. I have written tools. It is tool.
Okay, right. I think there is a link there. One more last question, Mercy. Yes. Is there any assessment to assess sub-competencies? Because you know that one competency can be taken as several classes. So when you take a single competency into several hours, it is very difficult to assess. Is there any method to assess the sub-competency of a main competence?
Actually, it should be assessed as a competency alone, sir. Like what you are saying is almost similar to the milestones and interestable professional activity. Okay, so all these milestones forms as competencies or sub-competencies. If all these competencies or sub-competencies are met, ultimately the particular competency will also be met. For example, if I give an example from a physiology practicals, I think you'll be able to understand. In physiology, examination of the pulses and competency, examination of blood pressure is a competency, examination of apex beat is a competency. Each and every competency will not be given enough number in the according to the module, curriculum in the NMC. But attainment of all these individual sub-competencies will ultimately lead to the attainment of that particular main competency. That's fair. That's how we can assess.
Okay, right. If there is no question, I think we can. There are a lot of questions in the chat box. I think that is too time consuming to read all the questions. Almost most of the questions were already answered by Anvarsi during her PowerPoint presentation. Very few questions were left out, which can be asked in person or in private through mail or some other modes of thing. So
Sure, sir, sure.
we'll come to the end of this session. That was a wonderful session. Thank you once again for enlightening us in a tough topic, the way that Guruvai Minji Sishya, that rightly act that we are very proud to sit in front of you. Never imagined that this will happen. Again, we are eagerly waiting to hear from you again when the things are open up from the pandemic period. Once it is over, in the real lifetime classes, we'll have more doubts and we'll be coming back to you. Thank you.
Sir, always your student, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I thank the Dean and the Medical Education Unit, especially Nirupa ma'am, TGS sir, Dhanashekhar sir. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity to address this gathering.
Can you wait for a minute? The e-certificate is ready and it will be displayed in the screen also. And it's a token of appreciation instantly.
I'm honored, sir. Thank you.
It will be sent to your mail ID also.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anbu.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Anbarasi. I think you will be seeing a lot of appreciation for your presentation in the chat box. I think your chat box is visible for you, Anbarasi?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Please, thank you. Now I request Dr. S. Ramya, MU resource person and associate professor in the Department of Biochemistry, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, on behalf of Medical Education Unit, take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. I thank our speaker, Dr. M. Anbarasi, for accepting our invitation in her busy schedule and for delivering the excellent presentation. I further express my gratitude to our chairman, Mr. Satish sir, our dean, Professor Dr. Shanmugam sir, our vice principal, Dr. B. Usha ma'am, our medical superintendent, Professor Dr. Mohan sir, our deputy medical superintendent, Professor Dr. Prasanna Babu sir, and our control of examiner, Professor Dr. V.M. Subramanian sir, for their constant support and encouragement. I extend my sincere thanks to our MEUs for making this event successful. I wholeheartedly thank IT department for the technical support in organizing today's webinar. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for attending today's webinar and make this event success. Now I request everyone to kindly raise for national anthem.